Hi, my name is Eddie Lopez, and I'm the owner of Perform America, Texas. We're excited to be here with the Westwood High School Symphony Orchestra that has been accepted to perform at the 2019 73rd Annual Midwest Convention. So we're here to do a live rehearsal. This is the first time we've done this with the Symphony Orchestra, so very excited to do that. And with us today, of course, are the directors. We have Joshua Thompson. We have Thomas Turpin. So it's going to be exciting to be here, exciting to rehearse, and the person that's coming to do this clinician, or as a clinician, is our very own artistic director of orchestras, Jeffrey Grogan. So I'm very excited to have everyone in this room to kind of honor this, to get these young musicians ready for the Midwest performance. So why don't I step back here and let's talk about just kind of how we got created, what you do for the application process and all. Just from kind of the beginning.
Well, as you probably know, there's a huge application. You have video files, audio files, past programs, rosters to make sure that you're not graduating your entire great ensemble that gets accepted. Letters of recommendation from notables, like our fine arts director wrote one, and Jerry Junkin wrote us one, and Gary Lewis wrote us one to get us accepted there. But mostly it's the recording, and it was two of our pieces that we performed last year, a string orchestra selection and a full orchestra selection, and that's what got us to be accepted. So we're really excited for the great opportunity to play on such an international stage.
Definitely, and it's been a great, I'm sure, collaboration. You guys have worked together for a while with orchestra band, putting this together and creating a full orchestra. So why don't you talk about that, just with the wind players coming in and being a part of the whole process here?
For sure. We've been fortunate at Westwood High School for a long time now, before either of us got here, of a tradition of excellence with both the orchestral studies program and the wind and percussion studies programs. We currently take 3 full symphony orchestras to UIL concert and evaluation. We work with our top 3 ensembles between each of us to provide that opportunity for the kids, and it's something I think that our students look forward to every single year. And it's fun to look to our mentors and people that were here before us, Jerome Brillhart, Susan Williams, Jack Green, Jim Van Zant, and to be able to continue that with these amazing kids has been something that's really special that we are very privileged to get to do every day.
Definitely, and Professor Grogan, you've been around many, and you've clinicked so many groups around the country, around the world. What's special about you coming back to Texas and doing something like this?
Well, I am a Texan.
You are a Texan, yeah.
Texan, but of course, friends with Josh for a long time, and I actually did a clinic here with the marching band in the late '90s, and actually worked with the orchestra when Jerome was the conductor here with Jim Van Zant. So it was a great tradition then, and you guys have just only raised the bar, and looking forward to working with all these amazing young people today.
All right, well, without further ado, why don't we get started? And thank you again, wonderful young musicians. You guys are awesome. Can't wait to hear the rehearsal. And again, congratulations on all your accomplishments. So here we go.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, friends. Focus today is going to be big chunks, and then Professor Grogan's going to hop in and work with us. So for right now, kind of focusing on what we were doing this morning, tempo stability from the beginning up to letter C. Let's push just a little bit past that and get everybody all the way up to letter D. So we can go through the first solo section. So beginning, take it all the way to letter D, and then we'll stop and get some feedback. Yeah? Yeah. All right, cool. You guys good? All right. really good rep on that. Couple of little things, and we're thinking back to what we did this morning. It's mental, right? Being in it and being in the moment and the focus on entrances and not coming in the wrong spots. Hey.
Hey! You know this isn't normal for a high school orchestra to sound like this. And to have what you have every day and you get to do this every day. I mean, travel around, do this. It's just not many places where this exists in one school. Maybe in a youth orchestra, but this is so special. And I know you're going to look back on this whole experience of going to Midwest with great fondness as you go on. But anyway, I just had to say that to start. Because anything that we talk about is just, you could play it like that and people are going to drop their jaws. So, but there are many layers to the onion. All right, so I had a chance in the late 80s to play principal horn on a premiere by Michael Daugherty called Desi. And my job was not only to play his piece, but to also pick him up from the airport and take him to eat barbecue in Nacogdoches, Texas. Maybe you've heard of it. The oldest town in Texas, right? 7th grade history? Yeah, right. Can you still spell it? Okay. And not only to the barbecue places, but he also loved going to the secondhand stores and picking up things. And he loves Americana art, all those kind of things. So this piece is right up his alley with, the whole subject matter of what it was written about in the art that inspired it. And plus his dad and his family being an inspiration as well. Later on, when I was a student at the University of Michigan, I remember waiting outside in the hall in my at the end of the hall at the music school, waiting for my lesson. And I remember several times during my lessons, his door would come bursting open, and he would come out of the hall and look around. And he'd go, "Jeff!" And he'd run down to the end of the hall, and he'd take me. We'd go into the men's restroom, and he'd write out things, and he goes, "Okay, while you're waiting, can you just play that? Play that. How does that feel? Did that work for the horn? Was that good? Try. All right. What about this?" And so, I mean, he still does that today. And when I was at New Jersey Symphony, we premiered a piano concerto of his. And he's an amazing musician. He's always breaking boundaries. But I will tell you, watching him rehearse ensembles, if he were here, and I'm not trying to be him, but I remember him going for all the explosive elements that are in there. For example, all the accents. If I was sitting in the audience, I'm not exactly sure where the accents would be. Some of them are different, right? Forte, piano, right? More bam on all those. Anything that has an accent or a forte piano, I think a lot more of what you're doing. These big orchestral hits. Can we just try one at C real quick? Can you just play the downbeat of C for me? Just one at C, that's all we're going to do. You are amazing. All right, that is a really great solo. Wow. All right, so here we go with a lot of energy. Edge of your seat, string players, to play this right, I think. Okay, here we go. Right on it. Just one note. Ready? Right. Can you play it piano now? Can you play the same energy piano? Ready? That same energy piano. Don't let the energy get flabby. Same way. Ready? Know when these come back. Around on the piano version of them, can you keep them like that? It has to have that high intensity. I feel like your forte versions of them were fantastically energetic. The piano versions are a little less energetic, right? But that didn't. So just imagine those Starbucks espresso shots in that. Have you ever had one? Starbucks espresso shot? Oh, it makes you fall asleep. Okay, just the opposite effect. All right, woodwinds. When you have this, anytime you have one of those effects, can you start it with more sound? So at the beginnings, I often hear or yup at the end of it rather than yup. So maybe an accent to start those anytime you have them in the piece, just to get a little bit more of that excitement. Did we get to the forte pianos? There are a few of them that some of you have, and I think those can be a lot more emphatic. So, can you do this a little bit from the beginning?
Yeah, sure. Can I keep going?
Yeah, and I'm just gonna coach from the side.
Got it.
All right, let's see what happens. Just the beginning to D.
Okay.
And the most tumultuous part, you guys succeeded with flying colors, right? Is these upbeats? Isn't that crazy? Yeah. That's so hard without a downbeat, and that was great. Awesome. So if you could like put that in pill form and sell it to orchestras around the world? What was your secret?
Making them focus for a live stream performance because
Besides that,
getting it homed in. Honestly, what we figured out is getting the listening environment right. So you have tambourine, you have bassoon, and you have violas, which is a really weird combination of instruments, right? Which kind of is Michael. And
did you feel offended by that, violas?
they're fine.
No, okay, all right, okay.
But what we figured out, we tried different things. We tried listening to tambourine, that didn't work. We tried listening here, and so we figured out if we can lock into tempo with bassoons and everybody play in time with that, then we kind of have a centralized pulse in the orchestra, and that was
So
our.
if you walked off the podium, it wouldn't matter.
Hopefully so.
All right, let's try to get from the beginning. One other thing I just noticed, I mean, I don't know, something about this music is just always like you're on the edge of your seat, but I don't. Great, great. So flutes, where are all the accents? And Daugherty would always ask for way more of that because I can't tell that accents exist on the end, right? So maybe you de-emphasize all the notes that aren't accented there. Just a thought. And everybody, when you have that. The forte piano coming up flutes, I noticed the first time flute piccolo, I would hit that much stronger, go away twice as much, and save your crescendo for the very end of it. So it's a crescendo like this. Does that make sense? Not from A to B, but zoom at the end. So it has a lot of sass. A lot of sass.
Cool. Let's try that. Same thing.
Good. Excellent. A lot of good things. Trumpets, all of these have to be just like, da, right? They're really short, very well attacked. Can you just try the first one there with the harmons? Just the very first note. Good. Right on it? Just that one note, right? Again? That's it. So it sort of has an electricity when the note is done. Da. So that there's an energy to the silence after it. Does that make sense? Okay. Bassoons. I love it. What a great bassoon section. Can you start this and can you just intensify your ego? I love it. It just needs it's a so it's all about did any of you guys watch the Batman series from the 60s and 70s? The one that pow and yeah, and it was all in these psychedelic colors because color had just come out actually during that series. But can you just play your opening melody there, and then just it's all about style and energy and excitement between the notes. All right, here we go. Try it right on it. 2, ready, za. That's it. And just, I think one of you is trying to go a little more staccato, and I think that's probably so there's a lightness, right? And it creates energy by making those notes a little shorter. Yeah, so that's the idea. Flute, your forte piano was fab. Can you save most of it for a crescendo into the sextuplets? Does that make sense? So, da, do, yeah. So there's most of that crescendo comes in the last beat. And same thing, anytime you have a forte piano, I would delay most of your crescendo to the very end of it. See what happens. All right, can we maybe take it up at A?
Yeah.
A? Great job, you guys.
That one needs more.
Excellent, excellent. And how many of you have the crescendo 2 before C? I just think 100% more participation from everybody that has that crescendo. It's mostly in the strings, right? So just make sure all of you are doing that crescendo because you really help lead that in. Bassoons, I loved your style until you got to that last little motif you have sort of alone. Bum, 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 bum. That one needs the same energy that you had in the earlier version. Who's doing vibroslap? Josh. Can you play it? It's not cutting through the texture. So I don't know if you can hold it up in such a way that it's more at us. I don't know if you guys have been talking.
Try something. Turn. Okay, and hit. Turn it totally over. Yep. And then hit in the palm of your hand. Do it like and heart like a faster motion down. And then don't. That was the best one yet.
So at this room at Midwest, there'll be 27,000 chairs set up, and it's a big convention room, right? And to get that vibroslap sound to the back row, I think is your goal. And every little explosive thing that you have that's interesting, i.e. your accents, everybody in the back row should go, hey, Martha, did you hear that? That was an accent on that note. Clearly it was an accent, right? Or a forte piano or whatever. And what about, I would suggest, I don't know, the whip is a little dark and a little low. I don't know if you have a higher, yeah.
We're gonna get one.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Because I
cool.
think it's just pieces of 2x4 basically.
Excellent.
So I think something, that resin or whatever we can get that's, okay.
Okay, and harps, you're using picks on everything, right? Which he asks for. Is there a way to get more sound at the bottom? And maybe even thinking of an accent to start each of these. So sometimes I just hear instead of all the way through. Okay, great.
Hey, Woodwinds, I can't remember if I have a note in my score. I don't remember if we added it or not, but 2 bars in front of C, just like Professor Grogan was asking, can we draw in a crescendo if we don't already have it there? I think we might have done it, but if not, let's go ahead and draw that in. 2 in front of C, so bar 64 and 65, all the way through it to go with what the strings are doing through that.
And bassoons, it was bar 46 and 47 where I felt like the energy wasn't like it was at the beginning. Bum, 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 bum. So it has that. Clarinets, bass clarinet, can you play your forte piano for me, 52? Everybody has to know this is a forte piano, right? Yeah, cool. But I felt like it was just a little mezzo last time, and every time you have that in this, it's boom, pow, zip, wham, everything has got to have a statement. Okay, you want to go back to B?
Yeah,
maybe?
B, sure.
Yeah. A lot of this stuff just kind of keeps happening throughout the piece, right? A lot of repeated ideas.
Cool.
So is that osmosis, like when, like at the beginning of the piece, all the things you work on fix themselves at the end of the piece?
Just kind of like transfers
Yeah,
immediately
yeah,
out.
yeah, cool.
Devin, can you play a little bit louder here at B too? Just that marimba color is super cool, and I don't hear as much as I think I'd like to hear there. So let's go, everybody. B. Here we go.
Okay, cool. Good. So I just hate to interrupt that flow. It's just so good. All of these, so percussion, when you have the whip, it is alongside some really cool harmonies in the trumpets. And if the whip is too loud, then you don't hear the harmonic value, if that makes sense. So the trumpets have the chord there. So I think it's important to figure out a way to play that in a way that you still hear the chord. In that same light, there was one other comment. Bassoons, did you see what I was saying on that one? I would separate don't play that first quarter note long in 46. Instead of right? So you're kind of spacing out as soon as you see it. At 46, just space out your first quarter note there a little bit. Anytime trumpets, you have these cool chords. I'm just not hearing them. The other thing is these big orchestral hits. Can you play C for me once? Sorry, of course I have a cold. I can't really hear you at all. I'm just faking it. There you go. Just play the chords at C, everybody. Hold your chord at C. Hold it. So there's a full chord there, right? But I'm hearing parts of that chord that dominate. Can we make sure we play inside the sound of the darker instruments a little bit? One more time. Let's hear the harmonies. Ready? Especially this note gets left out a little bit in the trombones, bom, which is the major third. You don't need a lot of it, but you need some of it. And usually in these big hits, I'm hearing just the tonic and somewhat the dominant, but not enough for the third. Can we try it right on the C? Can you make sure we get all those sounds right at C as written? At C as written, get all those sounds in the chord. Ready? It's better. Now, I think you have to concentrate on those as you go through these to make that happen. When we get to the piano, I don't hear all the sounds of the piano chord. Can we try that one, please, in 78? Can you play your downbeat of beat 2 in 78? Okay, hold it. And strings, just listen to the woodwinds once, woodwinds. And we want to hear your color in this, right, if we can. So maybe strings a little bit less here and a little bit more of the woodwind color, which, as you know, woodwinds, when you go from playing in band to a symphony orchestra, your dynamics structure changes, right? Because pianos are now forte pretty much, right? Because of the fewer numbers of instruments, all right? So make sure you represent there. Can we do 78? Just that one note is written and balance to the woodwind strings. Ready? Again. Ready? It's on beat 2 and 1. That's it. And you're all starting on the string there? Okay, great. Maybe we go C and then keep going?
Sure.
Okay. Thanks, Harps, for the accents on the bottom. Great.
Right on. Here again?
I'm sorry. I have to say, just one more thing. When you start here, it's like this bam, the energy's so up. The pianos still are just kind of sleepy. You know what I mean? I don't feel your energy on the pianos. It's sort of like and I can feel in the way you do the retakes and you set for those strings. I don't feel those energy at the beginnings of the piano. Piano is twice as energetic to get the same energy as the forte, right? Same thing. Good job, everybody. You're doing great. they're going to be listening to Mozart, and Daugherty's going to be in the club. You know what I mean? There's so many composers around Mozart's time, Beethoven's time, that thousands you never heard of, right? Because they didn't last. They didn't stand the test of time. And I have to think that his music will. He's one of the most commissioned, most played modern composers out there. And you can see why. It's so much fun. All right, let's go back to the beginning. So I will tell you most every forte piano that you play, the ones brass where you tread up, bing, bong, bing, bong, there is no crescendo until all of them have been stated, correct? And I feel like some of you start to grow a little early, so just hold off till everybody's done with their moment. The other thing is there's just a few of you not as strong as others on that forte piano, and they all have to be just as explosive, no matter what your instrument. So horns, you have to work twice as hard to get the volume of the trumpet section right, just because of the instrument. That's my instrument, so I know we're challenged with playing backwards and lots of problems, right? But you conquered. What an amazing horn section. Let's go back. I want to hear that one spot we just talked about. This is 110. 110. Just the brasses. Make that happen and save the crescendo for the moment. Actually, let's all start there, right at 110. 110. Good. And I noticed this too, percussion, when it trades off from the bottles, and then later on there's a few of you that have these 16th notes. You also have the forte piano, right? So forte, super piano. Just be right there riding with the piano part of the trumpets. Same thing later. It comes back in a, we have it with the medium, large, and very large. Are those the bottles in F too as well? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then later it comes back maybe in the timpani. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So more piano there through that. Let's try it. Same place. 110. 110. Horn 2, everybody else is at an 8, and I feel like horn 2 is at a 2, right? Volume-wise. You play it splendidly. And the other thing is where you have to play that in the range of, who's horn 2? Yeah, where you have to play that in the range of the instrument, you're going to have to just bust it out to get the same that everybody else has, because your note is down there, right? All right, try it. Same thing again. Make all these equalized, please, brass. More piano. More piano after the forte, right? So again, it's also now horn 4, horn 2 and 4. And I don't know if you can double those up at all, but that's one thing I would work to make sure, because of where they are in the range of the instrument, they're just going to need a lot more power. All right? So I know you guys will work on that. And then we're saving the crescendo. Can we start 115 just a little softer? Just a little softer, and the secret to your great crescendo is to start soft, right. All right. Why don't you conduct it F? Got it. Woodwinds, this is flutes at 109. I changed my dynamic there to triple, quadruple forte. Something like that. Can you make sure that comes out of the texture and just kickstart it with a great accent and play with your full volume? And I think that's going to be okay. All right? And let's just do that one section with you conducting it.
Great. For sure. Yeah. So Carrie, you kick off the horns. Yeah, you're the first one that enters, just so you know that. Okay. So really, really big on that A that you have, and then D sharp against it. So you got some weird harmonies that happen right after in the next entrance.
Thank you for more piano percussion. That was great.
Cool. Here we go. Letter F. Could just be me. Carrie, do you feel like that was early? Got it. I think you came in on count 2. So place it 1 beat later. Yeah. All right. Here we go again. The volume was great though. I love the intensity.
Cool. Hey, that's better. I still feel like there's a lot of brass that crescendo early, right? So you've got to keep it way softer, maybe piano light, all the way until the ends of, when it starts the crescendo. Flutes, how'd that feel? Was it nuclear? No. Can you up it to that notch, whatever that is? All right. Just a little bit more sound on those. So when we get here to letter G, I'd like to recommend that strings, maybe except for the violas, but I think violins, can you change this to mezzo forte? And here's why. Violins, listen to this. Can I hear oboes? Let's just hear all the woodwinds except flutes. bass, cello, and percussion 2. Percussion 2 at letter G. Letter G. Can everybody listen to this letter G, this group? Here we go. Ready? I think this is the most interesting thing. Now, this has to be much punchier. This has to be more forte, right? But right now I hear, and I sort of hear this muffled in the background. So I think this is the main idea. This is decoration, right? Here we go one more time. Same people. More punchy. Ready? Yeah. Now, can you make sure that's underneath that? Let's see what happens there at letter G. Everybody's in. Brasses. Can you just do a little bit more with the fall? Dude, push through the fall just a little bit more. See how that works. Right at G. Right at G. Breath. Cool, cool. Yeah, that's the idea. Now, bass, clarinet, bassoon, you take this over, and then you have to be as strong as them here. Can you make that even more sound? Bass, clarinet, you can rip this. Have some fun, all right? I love that sort of fortissimo bass clarinet. All right, so have some fun with that there. Brass, can you just do the jazz fall for me? The first one at 117. First one, 17. And yeah, more trumpet fall. Actually, it's funny. I hear the trombone and the horns. I need more fall in the trumpet. All right, ready? And right, and it's all about the fall, not the beginning of the note. Right, it's all about pushing energy through the actual falling. Trombones, I'm going to say the same thing to you when you get to H. I mean, trombone was invented for this awesome gliss effect, right? Can you make sure that everybody in the audience giggles in every one of these little glisses that you have? Does that make sense? I mean, I go to Midwest all the time and I hear a lot of groups that play correctly. Okay, great. Here we go, right at H. Have some fun. Sass, explode. There you go. Let's have just the trombones. Just the trombones, right at H. And tuba. Huh? All right. Conductor fail. Here we go. Ready? One more time. And good. And that's a place where I think you can save all the crescendo for the gliss. Yeah. Right? Does that make sense? Can you do just that measure with the forte piano? Just the measure with the forte piano. Ready? Yeah, and as much of that gliss effect as you get in there, try not to make it just happen at the end. Use the whole beat, right? Here we go, one more time. There we go. It'll sound more like a gliss and a little bit more sassy, and if you, I think, do that. All right, great. You want to go back and do a little bit of that?
Sure.
Because I'd love to hear the balance. Actually, let me just hear the violin, viola, G. Violin, viola, G. Super energetic, but not as much sound, right? Good. Is there a way to, Josh, to get just a little bit more clarity in the articulation here and softer? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Where, Anant, where are you playing that?
I'm playing at the tip.
Yeah, middle of the bow. Maybe move a little more towards balance point.
Yep.
Yeah, a little more articulate.
Great.
It's still lighter.
There you go. Same place. Edge of your seat, too. I need that energy from you guys. Right. Great. I mean, this is like a cool lick out of a horror movie. You know what I mean? And I think if you sort of play it like there's no horror happening, it needs some horror. Do you guys know anxiety? There you go, right on it. Can you channel that a little bit into this stroke, please? Edge of your seat. There you go. Ready? Yeah, good. I felt it from 4 violins and no violas. One more time. Here we go. Come on, violas. Win the game. Ready? Yeah, that's it. That's it. And it needs that kind of energy in the bass cello lick here. Let's go at G with Mr. Turpin conducting. Right at G. Sass, spunk, explosion, boom, special effects. If Daugherty's music didn't have that, if Kelly's another one. If Kelly's music didn't have that, it doesn't have that wow factor. And that's when you watch both of them in rehearsal, that's all they go after is the explosive stuff. Even Suni Nubel goes after that stuff. You guys remember Suni? All right, here you go.
Here we go.
lag in the lows from front to back here, and I think this is a place where you guys are on the 5-yard line on the back hash. You know what I mean? And so if you go totally with this, it's going to be tough. And I think you're playing it right stylistically. I just think it's not together because of the lag, because of the distance. So, and I noticed that in general brass, you're so far back there. I notice a behind. Yeah. And I want to tell you a story about that in a minute. But let's do this one more time. See if you could stay right. He's such a clear conductor. There's so many conductors that are just but he's like, this is right here. It's clear as day, right? You got this. All right, here you go. Watch him. Right at G. Just want to congratulate you for a second. That was a different level of ensemble that I've heard you play with. This is a big issue. A few weeks ago, I had several members of the New York Philharmonic sitting in my college orchestra, working with us on this piece called Symphonie Fantastique by Berlioz. You guys know it? I heard you played it last year. Anyway, we did the whole thing, all 5 movements. And it was amazing to hear their perspective. One person was the associate concertmaster who sat in that chair for many years, Principal Tuba, Alan Baer, Principal Clarinet, Anthony McGill. I mean, these people were all there, and they were talking about the greatest challenge of the New York Philharmonic. What do you think it would be? But it's struggling to play together. And the people in the back, Anthony and Alan, were talking about how far ahead sometimes they have to play for it to be together. And Cheryl was talking about in the front row how sometimes she has to play behind to be with the back. And so they kind of meet in the middle. So up here you play behind, back there you play ahead. And you actually have to do that a little bit in order for it to really sound together. And I just wanted to tell you what you just did was a great example of that. These little inner melodies in the lows, they were so clear. That one that you have by yourself in the middle low reeds, it's got to be more sound and more punch. Otherwise, it's not going to cut through, all right? But so much better. Ooh, if you do that for the whole piece, yeah, right there, 121, 122. Oh. All right. That issue is a big issue.
It's hard. Yeah. And then later where we have beat up, bada. There's some back and forth that we've been struggling with that a little bit too, so we can address it when we kind of almost toward the tail end of the piece.
I think I stole your score, right?
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Swap and make notes. Yeah. Sorry. Thank you.
Let's do G again, and then keep trucking ahead just a little bit. All right, here you go.
Can I see some physical, like, something when you got... How would Yo-Yo Ma play it?
G. A little bit of Robin flying. G. For Grogan.
Guacamole.
All right. And...
I love the pizzicatos here, Jay. It is so creative and wonderful. Basses, just make sure when you get into the parts where you're really doing a lot of the syncopation, it's not exactly together. Probably because I'm sitting on this side, but does that make sense? I don't feel like everybody's completely subdividing exactly the same. So can we try that once with that group of folks there, Mr. Turpin, maybe the bassoon, cello bass, and piano?
We're talking about letter J?
Yeah.
Got it. So low voices with the syncopated idea. J. Here we go. And set.
Yeah, right there. So at the end, it starts to rush. And I think what I would do, I'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Does that make sense? And really think every one of those eighth notes in there. Because I think when you get in a groove, it tends to rush instead of be true, right? Look, it's splitting hairs. So many people would be happy with what you just did. I'm just talking about making it even a little bit more together. Can we try it one more time, that same idea?
And guys, we've talked about anchor points before. The most important spots that you have the downbeat of J, you have beats 1 and 2 of 152. That's kind of the kick, boom, into the next idea. You got 153. Then if you'll find together with downbeat of 156, that'll get you to the end of that 3-bar cell. Yeah, so if you have nothing else, aim for those anchor points, and that will help keep it all together. All right, so little bits of glue put the whole puzzle together. Try it again. Here you go.
Think every 8th note this time.
Set.
Nails.
So much
Nails.
better. Yeah.
Awesome, yeah.
Way better.
One other little thing. Woodwinds, are you all doing the nuclear option at 148? So start that with an accent and just more sound at the bottom, right? So we get all the way through that. Brasses. I just noticed this in bar 144 and 148. You have one measure to do that whole crescendo from piano up. And I feel like it's happening early, therefore it's not as dramatic as it could be if you just do it in that one measure. And it really comes from trombones, right? Anyway.
Yep.
And I don't hear all the horns equalized still on the It's the second horn still, I think, in bar 143 and 147 that is the, and it's not your fault. It's because it's a D. Have you ever tried like thumb and 3? See what happens. Try it on the B flat side, just see if it helps. It might be a little sharp, but be careful. All right? Do you want to do just that section one more time? Maybe J?
Yeah, we can back to J.
Or H?
Yeah, H. H sounds good.
Or I, sorry. I. I's better.
Right in the middle.
Glisses are so much fun, trombones. Keep working to even bring them out more. It's all cartoon characters.
Letter I.
So many good things. Again, it's just, we're splitting hairs and it's so much fun. It's so much fun to like be a musician and you guys work with this group and you're working on this level of detail. It's like awesome, just awesome. I noticed your articulation's a little different at 163 and 165. So violins, can you play 163 for me real quick? All right. And ready, za. Good. Can you match that in the cello bass or cello viola?
To the trumpet
right at 165.
For me, if you don't mind.
Right.
Bar 186.
Good. I think the down bow is awesome, but the up bow is just not as energetic. So it goes instead of even though it doesn't have the accent, you're doing it that way, right? Play it together. You play 165, you play 163. Match the articulation. And ready? Yeah, that's the idea. Just make sure you get a on the start of every note. It gets just a little soupy in there, so be careful. Everybody, this is easy to just be too loud, too fast. At 173, everybody, brass included. So just make sure. You guys are so far advanced than when I was a high school student. I was thinking about, not only what you have to do in your life, but as musicians. And when I was your age, forte, fortissimo, fortissimo, and fortissimo were all the same to me. Right? Bring it home. Loud. I love it. So, but then the older I get, the softer forte becomes. You know what I mean? In order to make the fortissimos more electric, and I don't think you have fortissimo in this, but the fortes, I think, can be lighter with great energy. So, for example, in this section in the 170s and 180s, just making sure your forte so we can still hear all the things going on. This cool upper woodwind lick with it, all of that is so fantastic. And the strings and the brass. Can we just try it at 177 for a few bars? And can you make sure you hear everybody? Hear everybody. Brass, take it with a grain of salt. Here we go, 177. Forte light for you. Ready? Now, several of you sort of dropped the piano here out of the texture, right, at 181, right? And I think, just be careful there. By the way, that was really good. The ballast was fantastic, but I didn't feel your ensemble. So that thing about playing a little bit ahead brass and a little bit behind strings, it just wasn't jiving there at 177 like it was when we did it a while ago. Here we go, one more time at 177. Clicky of the sticky, please, right on 177. Yeah, that's it. Just remember to balance there. Brass, with great power comes great responsibility. You know, you can lay waste to the whole orchestra, especially trombones, it's really easy. So just in that spot, make sure you collaborate. Can you overdo the pianos in this section? Some of you have them just subito, thrown in the middle of nowhere. Do that, and I would do what we just talked about before, which is save your crescendos, poco, poco, molto on the ends of all these crescendos. All right, good. Sorry, Mr. Turpin, I'm giving you a workout going back